Okay. All right, we're in the cloud.
Excellent.
We got Parker. I'm going to wait. Should I let people in, or do you think I should wait?
No, I'll wait till right before, because otherwise it's like, hello, hello, and they're just sitting there.
Yeah, cool.
What was I going to say? If you want to see your chat while you are, if you want it open on the side while you're sharing, you have to go up to the menu bar and hit your chat box, and it should just pop up in the corner.
Well, I'm going to close my window just because sometimes we get trucks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are you going to get the new COVID hairdo?
No haircut?
No, the new one is the bob. Like for some reason, I get all these things in my newsfeed about the bob haircut, and I have no idea why. It's really weird. And I thought, well, that seems like a Shayna haircut, kind of that.
That's short. No, I'm growing it back out, and I'll get layers cut in it after post-COVID.
Cool.
So.
All right, so here's my slides. I'll run through them real quick. There's that. Touch over there. Plug in your thing, right?
Yes, thank you.
That's me. Steak knives, some stuff, my book. Used car sales. I want to talk about my 3 things. Stuff, more stuff, examples, and then this black screen intentional. This storytelling at the end to bring it all together, and then done.
Done. I love it.
So
It's good.
yeah. So hopefully it'll be useful. I don't know. I was literally like, it all kind of came together mentally last night at about 10:30, but I was really tired. I'm like, I'll get up and do it. And I did. I started working on it.
Yep.
But it's just, you kind of feel like you're rushing, and like, I would make these slides better if I had more time, but I don't have more time. So here it is.
I know. Isn't that how it always is? I was going to do some pretty intense work on mine last night. And Leo's dad emailed me or texted me that he's been having symptoms.
Oh, lovely.
And so he canceled his placement. I'm glad he canceled placement.
What does that mean?
So he actually had Leo this weekend, and he said he was feeling sick this weekend.
Yikes.
And so he's going in to get tested tomorrow. So I'll have Leo all week until he gets his results back. And then if he's positive, then clearly we all go get tested because we've been exposed.
Ooh, that's scary, right?
So I'm trying not to think about it too much. But yeah, it kept me up last night, and Leo was here, and it's always hard to get up in the middle of the night and work when he's here because he wakes up. So we'll see. I'll just chip away at it throughout the week.
I thought you had full custody of him.
No, I have like 70%. He's with his dad Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and every other weekend for one overnight. So he has the overnight on Tuesday and Thursday, but he comes back right away in the morning. So he goes to his house, goes to bed, gets up in the morning, comes home. And then on Saturdays, he has him, and every other Saturday, he has him for an afternoon and part of a day, part of the next day. So during the work day, Leo's here the full week. And so is Julia. I don't have on paper full custody of Julia, but she is here 24/7, and then her dad just comes to see her here. You should probably get started soon.
12:54. We got.
Okay, we've got a few minutes. Yeah, maybe a couple minutes. Give him a couple minutes before bringing him in. So, but we haven't had any symptoms. So.
That's good.
I feel like it's one of those, not to make light, but it feels like, when you're a kid and you're playing those games, like the dodgeball or whatever it is, when you get hit and then you end up in the pretend jail and someone has to come get you out. I feel like we're playing this like really serious game where it's like at any time you could get,
Oh, scary times.
Yeah. As it is.
All right, I bet. We had 3 and then one person disappeared, so, or maybe they, I don't know, maybe they're just, there's only room on the thing for.
People come in afterwards too.
Yeah.
So you might need to admit people as
And we got
they come in.
Fernando Beltran. Awesome. Don't know who he is. I guess I could let people in. What do you think?
The time?
Well, it's 56.
Give them until 57 or 8.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's like weird 4 minutes of dead space. That's what I did the first time. I let them in too early, and then I was like,
Hi.
I ended up muting and turning my video off because like,
Hi.
just sitting there. I made a little announcement that would be starting right at the hour, and then.
That's good. Control it. Do you need a slide person or a chat person on Monday? Like, do you need me to wingman for you?
If you want to, if you have time. You
I
can.
might. Yeah, Monday might be working pretty well. We'll see.
Okay. I'm gonna mute myself, so when you let people in, I'm quiet. So.
I can mute all. People unmute themselves. Just looking at my screen. Just looking at my screen. I wanted some music to play in the background, but I didn't get that far. Hey, friends. People are coming in. We'll give a moment here for people to come into the waiting room. I'll admit them. Hey, Florida's here. Cool. Saw that in chat. I'm from Wisconsin. I muted everyone just so we avoid the chaos, but Shayna's going to be taking questions and notes in chat. Slovenia, awesome. Pressure's on now. Wow. Hello from Madison. We'll give another minute or two for people to kind of pile. We had a pretty good sign up, so imagine we'll have folks jumping in. Just refresh coffee or whatever your beverage of choice is. right. Got another few people coming. Give it like one more minute, and then I'm just going to dive in, and we'll just admit people as they come. I get it that it takes a moment to get signed in. Hey, Leanne. I got you muted, but good to see you again. Familiar faces. Yay. We've got Florida here. We've got Slovenia. Super cool. Excited. So everyone, if you have questions and comments and something's unclear, just put it in the chat, and Shayna is going to be monitoring chat. She'll collate those questions and hit me back at the end here, and I'll answer questions. And you can always reach out, post to send me email or whatever you want to do. So let's dive in. So we're about 2 minutes past, and I think we originally budgeted for a 30-minute-ish thing. I might go over. I'm not positive, but I'll stay on. If you have questions, I'll do my best to answer questions, or provide some kind of insight. And okay, we got a few more coming in here. But quick intro, I'm Scott Cole. I'm an entrepreneur in residence at Madison College and the CEO of Third Space. And as I said, Shayna is going to be monitoring the chat. She's my esteemed colleague at Madison College. She'll monitor it. She'll provide any feedback she can give. And then if you've got to drop early during this thing, no worries. I'm not, I get it. Some people just sign in and then watch the recording later on. So we are recording to the cloud, so that should be available later on. And I would be remiss not to plug an upcoming Madison College course it's another free one. It's going to be working from home for leadership and impact, and Shane is actually going to be leading this one. And the college in general has been preparing a ton of content for businesses and work, especially in this time of COVID. So it's some great stuff that's coming online. We've revamped a lot of content just to make it more relevant, and there's going to be a lot of new stuff coming as well. So stay tuned. And Shayna's thing will be on the 27th, so that's on Monday. And since I'm in sales mode, I'll plug my business, Third Space. At its technical core, Third Space is a software as a service. We're a mobile application, but the reason Third Space exists is really to create trust and connection and meaning across organizations. And we make it super easy through, through deployment and setup. You don't need IT staff. You don't need infrastructure. It's kind of set it and forget it. We use a variety of technologies such as gamification, social networks, got some artificial intelligence baked in there. So if you're interested in learning more, I'll put up my contact information. You can always reach out and say, hey, I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. And I think I also have, oh no, you really don't get a free set of steak knives if you reach out, but there is something that's coming out that I'm excited about. I've got a book that I wrote. It's kind of related to what we're talking about today. And I'm admitting like a bunch of folks here. So I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. So it's excitement builds. I'm admitting all. So yeah, I've got a book coming out. Should be about 6 weeks based on what the editor is telling me. And my initial title is called The Ships Are Burning. And yeah, here's contact information. Shoot me an email. Look me up on LinkedIn. Go to our website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And thank you all for taking time. So that's it. Sales pitch is over. I'm ready to dive in with you. And so there's really 3 things that I want to share with you today. This is I'm gonna have to ask you to trust me, and the things I'm gonna present, they will tie together and they'll be relevant, but we're gonna be starting in a very different place. And one of the places is gonna be a little bit nebulous, a little bit squishy. The second, I'm gonna kind of focus on just technology for a moment. And then the last is a technique for creating connection and hopefully a better seed for stronger cultural connections in your workplace. So yeah, we'll take the long way home. That's the way I roll, but we will get there. And I probably didn't think you'd be getting some 19th century poetry from Arabic poetry from Khalil Gibran. Love his work. But yes, vague and nebulous is the beginning of things, but not their end. So we will be getting a little bit here in the vague and nebulous. That's kind of where my head was as I started to present on this. And this presentation was a challenge for me to create. I mean, it was back in March and April, during those gray and sloppy days. And those of us in Wisconsin kind of know how it is. And that's my son there up in a baseball field. And we have weeks of this, where it's sunny and then it's, you get a hint of spring and then you get snow and then you get the mud and whatever. And it was a challenging time for, everyone in the world. I got some folks coming in, pardon me. It was a challenging time because, we're 1 minute we're opening and then we're closing and then we had opportunities for gathering and then not and then the rallies for racial justice started, and that's another dynamic. So I think the presentation I would have created months ago would be very different than actually what I kind of put together, and my head's been really thinking about a lot of different things. But what's really clear is I want to create some value, and I wanted to do it in a way that I'm not just sharing old perspectives or old content or old information, stuff that I learned in, say, grad school or something, because in my mind that just prepares us for the past, and the past is done, it's over. So I dug into my repertoire, and I was looking at a lot of the trade magazines, and it seemed that so much counsel that was being given and a lot of insights that were being shared was this idea of returning to normal. And I don't know, people want it to be that way. And I get it. It's a natural reaction to pain and discomfort to return to normal, to return to the thing that, we're used to. But then I started thinking, was that really what we need? Organizationally, is that really what we need? And I get we might want it, but it somehow didn't feel right. And this black swan event, COVID-19, has really exposed the fragility of many institutions, of businesses, our societal infrastructure. And for me, it exposed how normal wasn't working for everybody. And I think that's really true. So this has kind of led to my shower thoughts or my dog walk thoughts. I started thinking to myself, okay, normal. I don't think I like normal. And I don't necessarily want to return to it. And maybe we shouldn't be returning to it. And what is this new normal? And I didn't like that term either. It came across to me as spin and a veneer. And when I think about creating cultures that survive, and I think about cultures, organizational cultures that matter, where people thrive and where people love to work, where people feel inspired, it's you got to really start from a place of truth and honesty and authenticity. That's the bedrock. If we're beginning with marketing and fluff, then the rest is doomed. So what are we going to do with this today? I don't want to just give platitudes. I don't want to just rant here, but I don't want to prepare us for the past, because that's no good. So stick with me. I'll bring this home. There's no 7-minute abs version of human connection and cultural change. So it's a tough thing to wrestle, but I really want to challenge this group with that concept of normal, because it impacts us how we're going to operate in our organizations. And I think we should try to toss out the concept of normal. I mean, accept the fact that modern society, going back maybe 20,000 years, has really evolved in a very unique bubble. And that's allowed us to realize what we have in our modern world today. I mean, technology has created this bubble, and it's almost put us and nature behind this glass wall. We observe it, but we're almost apart from it now, as opposed to being a part of it. And we've avoided these kind of catastrophic events in our modern world, like volcanoes and magnetic pole flips, ice ages. There's, the doomsday asteroid, and these extinction events. And we've really existed in between so many of these things in our natural world. So what we see is this viral outbreak, which impacts us all on a personal and business and societal level, seems really different. It seems really abnormal, and probably it isn't. But it's exposed the cracks, and we're all living in these fissures right now and in between. And I start thinking about it, I'm like, well, the cracks are okay, because that's how the light gets in. It's from an old Leonard Cohen song. Yeah, the cracks are okay, and that is what lets the light in. That's an opportunity there. So I suggest our mental challenge for the moment is tossing out this concept of normal, embrace abnormal, and even go beyond. We talk about being agile and resilient and flexible. In some respect, those terms just say return back to the previous state. And let's push even beyond that. Let's be almost embracing of risk and change in a very different way, because that can actually make you stronger and kind of awaken your superpowers. And yes, this works at a personal level. It can work at an organizational level. I think this is the point why you signed up here today. So I want to throw this out there. Try it on. Awe. Just pause for a moment. Think about things that give us awe. This is what we need in our lives and in our organizations and our work groups. And from a societal perspective, awe plays a very, very critical role. It's characterized by the perception of being in the presence of something vast that as an individual, we maybe don't immediately understand. And awe actually has a function for us in society and as organizations. So it creates what they call self-transcendent emotions. These are emotions of humility, reduced entitlement, self-diminished ego. And when you take these things away, kind of very interesting things happen to us as a society and as a group. Oops, got another person joining here. So some of the most influential and powerful aspects of culture that we've ever created as a species really live in this idea of the vast, and they inspire awe. They connect us to something larger than ourselves, and we're oftentimes humbled by it. And that humility is so powerful and so important, because when we're humble, we become vulnerable. And when we're vulnerable, we become honest. And from honesty, trust can emerge. And that's the seed of great leadership. That's the seed of human connection. That's the seed of organizations that can change the world. And that's the seed of organizations that I believe will not only make it through these tough times, but succeed and then help others as well. So is there a way, I guess what I'm suggesting in this time, in your organizations, in your departments, where people are focused on details? Is there something grand? Is there something vast? Is there a way to create awe in their lives and in kind of your shared time together? And I get, we're all consumed with things like, going to the grocery store, or you're out on a walk and you see someone ahead of you and you're like, oh my God, do they have COVID? Should I cross the street? Or, are they going to cross the street? Or is their mask on? And, oh, is my job secure? I'm worried about losing my job. And those details are important and they absolutely matter, but they can make you really feel frazzled and they can make you feel exhausted. And as a leader, then oftentimes we're leaders of a group or an organization and we feel empty. And there's nothing left to fill up other folks that really need it, and even our families. I mean, there's not much left to give. So here's how we kind of make this more practical. How do you create a sense of awe? And this is something that, we're not going to do it here on the call, but practice this, back at your work group, or, individually. Start there if you want. And think about the invisible, the thing that binds your organization together, and really that idea of purpose and humility and meaning. And you can, I don't care whether you're laying shingles or you're curing cancer, there is power in what you do, no matter how humble or mundane you might think it is. And if you're struggling with this concept, you can even think about like Michelin tires, right? Make tires, big deal, tires. But then you think about what was their brand or their mission statement, or kind of one of their taglines is so much of the riding in your tires. And you think about that, and I think they even had like the baby on like a chassis there, and like, oh yeah, I get it. The baby is so important, and protecting our family is so important. So then, but I do want you to push and go beyond kind of branding and logos and traditional mission statements, and really, really stretch it. Because when you're in that place of awe, you feel something different. And I don't care where, awe comes from, going to your church, going to synagogue, going to a walk in the woods, looking at the stars, going fishing, wherever you find awe, that feeling is really important to capture. And I believe we can capture that in our workplace. Yeah, Apple, I kind of get burned out on Apple, but yeah, their Think Different campaign really, I think, nailed that in terms of getting people to think and feel differently. So that's very well kind of documented and understood. Okay, and if that still feels a little bit like, here's an interesting example that I read about recently, and I wrote about in my book too, where custodial staff in hospitals, they're taking out garbage, they're cleaning bathrooms, they're cleaning up operating rooms and whatever. And it's not a glamorous job, right? And yeah, they're in one respect janitors and they're collecting garbage, but at the same time, they're healers. They are part of that healing mission that exists within the organization. And that's a really, really powerful place for them to be. And by them shifting that mindset to a place of awe, of saving lives and being part of that healing mission, they fundamentally changed their approach. And I think that the challenge here we have is like, we're not just changing names and terminology for the sake of spin. Like, you have to do it in a way that is really inspiring towards people. And you let the people doing the work actually participate. Like, as a manager, you just don't want to come in and like, now you're a healer. And, for this point forward, you're a healer and you're going to go heal people, even though you're still taking out the garbage and do what you do. Let the people who are doing the work actually be part of that creation and that shift in mindset. And if you still feel a little bit stuck by it, then my next suggestion would be, think about the best organizational initiatives around, say, culture of inspiration. And think about an organization that, hypothetical even, that wouldn't need this. And why wouldn't they need this? Like, what would that organization in your mind be like? What would it be like to walk in those doors? What would it like to be working among them and with them, or being a partner? And shape your department or your group, no matter how large or small, towards that thing that is, inspiring, and shape that thing that is potentially, nebulous and uncertain, but can you make some steps in that direction? So those three things, back up a moment here. There's a lot of great brands out there. There's a lot of great companies that are really good at tapping into the idea of purpose and humility and that sort of thing. Just don't get stuck in brand statements, because that can be a little bit salesy. Think about some other examples we see are the people bagging groceries, the people picking up our garbage. Yes, and the doctors and nurses, absolutely. And then also, is there an organization, or could there be an organization that is so unique and so powerful that, they don't need to write this down. They don't need to study it. They just live it. Like, it's in their DNA. And what would that be like? And can we somehow morph ourselves towards that? So that's really step one of what I wanted to talk about. So the second thing that I really want to promise here and deliver on is, like, how do we communicate this out? We're like, okay, Scott, I get it. I'll do the awe thing and work on that. But what tools and what channels and what mediums do we use to get it out there? How do we connect in this time of, social distancing and close down workplaces? Yeah, we got Zoom. And I think what people want, especially we're talking about awe, right? And maybe you're excited. Maybe you got a little bit of a spark when we thought about that. And you want this, right? You want that Braveheart moment. You're up there with the claymore and everyone's behind you and you're ready to go. But we don't have that. We got Zoom. Or we got some other things. So I think what we're learning is that even this thing that we're on at this very moment, the Zoom, these tools are failing at connection. And I want to explore that a little bit because it helps us to understand, well, what's the alternative to Zoom? And someone posted this graphic in LinkedIn. And yeah, this is what it's like. This is sort of how I feel at the moment. I don't know how many people, we got 23 people on here. You're all looking at me. I can't see you. But it does feel a little bit like the Muppet Show at times. And I feel like I'm on. It'd be a different experience if I was in front of you as a human being, and we're all in the same room together. But it's sort of what we have. And I think what I challenge is that, I'm a tech person and I've developed software to help with culture. But I challenge that more technology is really not the answer in terms of more advanced technology. So let's kind of connect those dots. Like, well, if we're not doing Zoom, what's the next best thing? What about little avatars running around in a virtual 3D space or something like that? Well, we've kind of done that. And there was the Second Life. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but Second Life was an abysmal failure. I mean, it still exists and people still use it, but it's this sort of weird social world. Like, okay, that's just kind of strange. Doesn't really connect us. Well, what about VR helmets? We're all putting on the goggles or the helmets, and somehow that doesn't feel quite right either. I don't know. It seems strange to me. And then, okay, what about holograms? Do we hologram ourselves into a place, or do you all sit around here in my basement where I'm at, and somehow we're interacting, and or are we transporting ourselves? You know, something like Star Trek. And no, I don't think that, you know, I'm definitely not anti-technology, but I don't think that those are the answers for what we're feeling, and how do we bring this sort of feeling and message of awe to our organizations, our departments, and even our, you know, in our personal lives. So what's interesting is that there's this rule. They call it the 738-55 rule, which is this concept concerning the communication of emotions. And the rule states that about 7% of meaning is actually communicated through the spoken word. Got about 38-ish% that goes through the tone of the voice, and about 55% body language. In video, so that, you know, when we've got these video links and so forth, or watching the news, you can say optimistically get to maybe about 50% of the way of what's being communicated out, but there's still so much left unsaid between people and groups. And there was a doctor, Morabian, if I'm saying it correctly, back in the 1960s, concluded that the interpretation of a message is about 7% verbal, about 38% vocal, and about that 55% visible. So the punchline from that research and some other studies is about 93% of communication is nonverbal in nature. And yeah, I mean, that, like, whew. And I just saw this article that came in my newsfeed yesterday, and it just kind of, like, I wanted to throw this up here because, yeah, we're in this time where we can't touch. And it's so hard to replace that. And yeah, in a business setting, you're not necessarily running up and hugging everyone. But video conferencing and Zooms and everything else, and I'm not anti-Zoom, I mean, this is the tool we've got, but it actually creates this disconnect between mind and body. And that really nails it. So what's happening is your mind thinks it's present, like we are mentally present for the most part here in this moment, but our bodies are scanning and searching for other human cues that are normally present than when we're in front of somebody or in groups. You're actually, there's pheromones given off, and there's rituals, and there's signals and tells that we're constantly giving off that are completely lost as a result of this way of communicating. So this sort of autonomic system that's working in the background, it's really scanning for input all the time, but finding nothing. It's just working. And I kind of equate that to like your mobile phone, like when you're out in a place where there's no Wi-Fi, and you left the Wi-Fi search thing on, and it's constantly like trying to jump and find networks, and then you're like, oh, my battery's all gone, and oh shoot, I have my Wi-Fi, I should have shut that off when I was out here camping or whatever, and the battery's drained down. It's kind of like that. I mean, you're scanning for something that just isn't there. And you know, that human touch, that human connection is lost. So what's the alternative here? What am I proposing that we do? Yeah, that's a blank slide. So we still have to reach people, and we still, you know, and instead of looking for perhaps the most high-tech way to do that, let's go the other direction and maybe remove some of the technology or dial it back to not involve certain sensory input. And that might mean reverting to just audio only or written only. And will this work in your work environment? I don't know. I mean, too many variables there for me to measure and to comment on, but run the experiment in your own organization. Think about other powerful and inspiring messages and emotions that you've experienced personally, or history has experienced without the aid of Zoom. Like, Zoom's pretty new, and Teams is new, and Slack is new, and some of these other things are new. But I'm talking about maybe radio broadcasts and music and novels and poetry and letters. These things have moved people's souls for ages and generations. There's no Zoom. And I get it, we need to reach out to a crowd. We're running businesses, we're running departments, we're running, you know, work units. And maybe the answer would be like, okay, if I need to reach out to someone, I'm still gonna use a tool like a Zoom or something. But maybe try telling everyone to shut their video off. Like right now, a lot of people's screens are blank. And that makes me react and respond to in a slightly different way than if I was actually, experiencing the Muppet Show version of it that we showed a moment ago. So maybe try this with your teams and the folks that you're using. If you have to use a video conferencing tool, tell everyone to shut off the video part, but just tell them then, I want you to sit back, listen, and be present, because I want to talk with you. I want to share something with you. I want to talk about this idea and this feeling I had, this idea of awe and how it helps us and might help us transcend the day to day and give us something kind of powerful to strive to in this sort of weird and really difficult time. So that's your homework number 2. Second part of what I wanted to share is think about some other ways of communicating that maybe are, what's old is new. Maybe, going back to just a phone conference or a phone call or a personalized letter that you send out to someone. Maybe that is a way of sort of opening up the door in a very different way versus trying to, assume that technology is going to be the way to save and help us, grow and build trust in our culture. So that one's actually pretty easy. It asking you to do less there. So here's the final piece. So we've kind of talked about this idea of possibility and awe and potential. We want to share that story with others. And I want to talk about story for a minute. I mean, we've been telling stories since, we've been, gathering around fires in our early societies. And, our way of telling stories has gotten a lot more sophisticated. We've got fancy movies and really cool effects and all that stuff. But the framework for storytelling has actually been, with us for generations and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And our love for storytelling has actually been the same. And that power of narrative can't be underscored enough. And there's a way to do it that really builds connection around you. And I want to share this technique because I think this will help you decide on like the medium that you want to use. Then also, it'll help you communicate that feeling of awe in a way that really builds trust, in a way that will build culture and help people and get them excited and kindle the fire in the belly. So it's a thing called the hero's journey, and it's a way of telling a story. And some of the best books and movies follow this formula. I mean, I'm a Lord of the Rings geek, and you can almost map Frodo's journey one for one to the hero's journey. So I'm going to jump over here. So there's actually 2 parts to the hero's journey. There's this journey of achievement that the hero has. And in this case, in this story, you're going to be the hero. And then there's this journey of transformation. And that's on the inside. That's something else that comes out as a result of all these other things that happen. And this is kind of the template for it to work. So you're looking at this idea of character and desire and conflict, so these emotions and who you are. And as the storyteller, like you are planting seeds that portray you in a certain light. Like maybe you're a victim of something, or you're in jeopardy, or you want to be likable. So the first part of the story is really your backstory, like where you came from and what are you doing that got you here. And you'll see this in movies and in great novels, and you'll see it in really compelling narratives that great leaders can tell. Like they tell this backstory of where they came from, and then they talk about this journey that they go on, and this journey creates conflict. It creates a sort of this emotional change within them. And, oftentimes they're trying to achieve something big, like there's a win, there's a goal in mind. Frodo was trying to get the ring in Mount Doom, that sort of thing. Luke Skywalker was trying to, transform his father and save the rebellion, that sort of thing. But there was an emotional journey that was going on there. And what it is this transformation from old beliefs and ways of being to new beliefs. And let me jump to the next slide here. So the way that we do that is through this thing called the Epiphany bridge script. And this is what I'm suggesting, that you kind of write this thing out. And if you're going to connect with someone, you want to start out with a little bit of your backstory. They want to know who you are and where'd you come from? What's your deal? And it's really important to people. Like we want to know that. And it's funny because a lot of times some of the best leaders are like, we want to know what, yeah, they do. Yeah. People want to know where you came from. They want to know where you grew up. They want to know, what you did as a child and what were you like as a teenager, that sort of stuff. And in that backstory, you should express sort of some of the desires you had, like what brought you to where you are today. There's these internal and external desires that you have. And then part of your story is like you begin this journey of change. You hit walls, things happen, barriers. There's always challenges along the way. Every hero experiences these challenges. And then at some point, there's this epiphany that happens, right? You're like, I get it. Things are changing. This new opportunity emerges. And then, oh my gosh, I got a plan to get there. I know how to get to the top of the mountain. I'm going to make it. You create the plan, you execute it. But oftentimes there's that last minute conflict. But through that conflict is where the emotional change happens and you get this transformation. So oftentimes that hero, you can achieve that external goal that you want, but then there's really this internal transformation that happens. So here's how you kind of draft it. This is kind of the formula. Share your backstory. What's the best interest in you? And here's your desires. What do you want to accomplish? Talk about internal and external desires. Are really important to set the stage. What are the problems you hit along the way? And then, oh my gosh, the epiphany happens. Like boom, light goes on. And what's this new opportunity that you discovered? Maybe it's completely different than the thing that sent you on the journey to begin with. And now we've got a plan, and I need you to be with me on my plan. We're together on this now, and that gets other people involved and excited. And then there's always conflict. There's always things that happen that challenge you and pull you one direction or the other. And then suddenly you break through and you have this achievement and this transformation happens. And that's like that aha moment. So what I'm challenging you is take that feeling of awe once you explore and you think you have a direction of where you want to go. Think about how you want to deliver that. And then try thinking about yourself as, or your team, or someone in your organization as the leader, and how do you actually want to kind of move forward. And this script will actually help you get there. It's not the only way to do it, but it's a type of script, it's a type of formula that's been used again and again. It's sort of tried and true. It absolutely can work. So that we're about 30 minutes in, and we've all seen Simon Sinek's, well, I'm assuming, but Simon Sinek's Golden Circle, and kind of approached this discussion today and this presentation is really a way of looking at cultural change, and how do you build trust, how do you build connection, and how do you get people to rally around something in this time of need, to persevere and take their work units or to a new direction. Yeah, we talked about why. That why is really important. That powerful motivating thing. That's that sense of how are you going to do it? Well, part of how we're going to do it, part of the channels that we're going to use is connecting with each other in a slightly different way. I've got someone just jumping in here at the last minute. And then kind of what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to use this tool, this Epiphany Bridge hero's journey script to actually help me craft my story, help to communicate my why. And that's going to sort of lead me to, connecting with others and help us through. So that's the bulk of what I wanted to share today. I know it kind of took us a long way to get it. It's a little non-traditional, but I think we are in non-traditional times. And I really wanted to give us something different. So I'll open up to questions now. I see we've got some. I'm going to open up the chat, and feel free to chat in there, ask questions, and I'll try to respond to anything. So, and Shana, if you've got any ones that came through, feel free to send them, do a direct chat to me. So we've got, so if Disney ran your hospital, yeah. So someone put in a comment there, Leanne asked, what if Disney ran your hospital? Like Disney is famous for, creating fun and creating an otherworldly experience and sort of taking you out of the mundane and taking you out and putting you in a different place. What if? So if you're looking for one of the examples, again, a lot of times we go to Apple, but Apple's, in my opinion, is a little tired. But what if a Disney ran your organization? How would they approach it? Creating a sense of awe and connection, and sort of building towards a different future, a future of possibility. See if we have anything else here. No other questions? So, okay, so Shane asked, technically speaking, when are good opportunities to share elements of the story? Well, my suggestion would be if you can involve others in your story, I think that is, that buy-in is always really important. And you think about great stories and great narratives and great teams, it's never just one person doing it all. So I think starting with your backstory is a really good point. And then you kind of share your aspiration with somebody. Could be one person, could be multiple people. And then that's sort of the opening volley to, hey, am I Don Quixote? Am I, fencing and windmills, or, or are we starting a movement here together? And I need help. And as a leader, then that is that opportunity of saying, I need help, I need you. And I'd like not just to make this my hero's journey, I'd like to make it our hero's journey together. And again, that helps to shift, that helps to transform people's thinking so that they want to buy in and they want to be part of it with you. So any other questions? Give it a minute here. So if anyone is curious and they don't want to ask a question through the forum here, absolutely send me a note, connect on LinkedIn. You can also find a little bit more on our website, but again, the college is going to be having some additional presentations on culture, and we'd love to have you join those additional presentations. But I know we're about just a little over the original 30-minute mark, and I'm willing to hang on if anyone has other questions. Otherwise, I will call it done for today. And thank you very much for listening and for some folks sharing some of their questions and thoughts in the chat. We'll call it done. Thank you. Be well, everybody.